Tales of Moonlight and Rain. On Poverty and Wealth. Hin Puko Ran. Ueda Akinari. In the household of Ugetsu Monogatari, there was a samurai who was known for his bravery. He had a high stipend and a great reputation, and his bravery was known throughout the eastern provinces. However, this samurai had a very eccentric character that was different from other people. His desire to accumulate money and become wealthy was extremely strong, unlike that of the average samurai. Because of this, he made frugality a family motto and kept his wife, and over the years, his family grew wealthy. Furthermore, even when he was not practicing martial arts or training his soldiers, he did not indulge in the refined arts of tea ceremony or the art of incense, as other samurai did, but instead spread out many gold coins in a room and found comfort in looking at them, which was a greater pleasure for him than the rest of the world enjoying the refined arts of the autumn moon and spring flowers. Because of this, everyone found Sanai's behavior strange and suspicious, and they shunned and hated him, thinking that he was a stingy, low-spirited, and unrefined person. When Sanai heard that one of his servants, who had been working in his house for a long time, secretly possessed a gold coin, he called the servant over. Even if the famous jewel of Kanzen were to be found, in times of chaos it would be worthless, like a tile or a pebble. For a warrior born into such times of chaos, what one really wants is a famous sword like 2K or Boku, and also treasure. However, no matter how good a sword is, it cannot face 1,000 enemies with one sword. In comparison, the power of money can easily manipulate and make people all over the world obey. Therefore, a warrior should not take it lightly or treat it carelessly. He should always treasure it and store it. It is admirable that you, a man of lowly rank, have more than your share of gold. I will give you a reward, he said, giving the servant 10 ryo, and also allowing him to carry a sword and raising him to the rank of samurai. When people heard this, they praised him, as if it were already too late, saying, Sanai's saving money is not the kind of thing that makes him greedy or strong desire. He's just a rare eccentric person in this day and age. That night, Sanai woke up feeling someone near his bedside, and found a small old man smiling beside the lantern. Sanai raised his head from the pillow and said, "Who's that over there? If you wanted to borrow some food from me, surely a stronger man would have done it. But an old man like you has come to wake me up. You must be a fox or a raccoon dog in disguise. Hey, you must have learned some trick. Show me what you've done to wake me up on this autumn night." He didn't seem the least bit upset. The old man replied, "No, I have come here, and I am neither a demon nor a human. I am the golden spirit whom you usually cherish. I am happy that you have treated me so well over the years, so I came here thinking we could have a midnight talk. I was moved when you praised my servant and gave him a reward today, so I thought I could talk about the thoughts that are on my mind and make myself feel better, so I appeared in this form. But since it is my own story, it is useless talk that is not even 10 times as useful. But even so, if I don't say what I want to say, I will just feel bloated and uncomfortable, so I took the trouble to visit you and disturb your sleep." He continued. Now, even if one becomes prosperous and wealthy, not becoming arrogant because of it is exactly the way of the great sage Confucius. The common insult, "the rich are always twisted at heart, and many of the rich are fools," is referring only to those like Sekisu of the Fu dynasty and Oyu Genpo of the Tang dynasty, who were as vicious, cruel, and greedy as jackals, wolves, snakes, and scorpions. Those who prospered in the past were able to discern the laws of nature and judge the suitability of the geographical environment, and as a result, they naturally and inevitably achieved wealth. Taikobu Ryosai was appointed to the state of Sei and taught the people how to make a living, so people from the seaside came to Sei, longing for the profitable life there. Kantyu also helped Kanku of Sei and united the feudal lords, and although he was a vassal, his wealth surpassed that of the rulers of the other countries. Others, such as Hanrei, Shirko, and Hakiai, all made profits by buying and selling produce, and amassed vast amounts of wealth. Shibasen wrote the biographies of moneymakers in the records of the Grand Historian, outlining the deeds of these people, but later scholars have unanimously criticized his theory as vulgar. This is the words of people who do not fully understand the principles of things. As the works of Mencius says, those who do not have a fixed occupation and wealth do not have a fixed good heart. Farmers work hard to produce grain, craftsmen work hard to help, and merchants work hard to sell it to various countries. What else can humans do other than working hard at their occupations, enriching their families, worshipping their ancestors, and planning for their descendants? There are proverbs that say, "The child of a wealthy family will never be executed and exposed in the city," and "A wealthy person can enjoy the same pleasures as a king." This is certainly true. When the pools are deep, fish can swim freely, and when the mountains are deep, animals thrive. This is in accordance with the laws of nature. However, in the Analects of Confucius there is a phrase, "Be poor and yet enjoy yourself," which became the beginning of the confusion of scholars and writers, causing even warriors who wield bows and arrows to forget that wealth and honor are the foundation of a country, and become obsessed with pointless military strategies, committing destruction and killing, losing their virtue and even wiping out their descendants. This is all due to the confusion of belittling treasure and placing importance on honor. I believe that the desire for honor and the desire for profit are one and the same, and there are in no way two different minds. However, those who are obsessed with learning and books, who despise the virtue of gold, and who call themselves pure and innocent, who abandon their occupations, escape the secular world, and live a calm life, are said to be wise. Surely such a person may be wise, but such actions in themselves are not wise. Gold is the highest of the 7 treasures. Even when it is still buried in the ground, it contains holy water, dispels the surrounding impurities, and emits a delicate sound. How can something so pure gather only in the company of foolish, ignorant, greedy, and cruel people? This is not the case. Even so, what a joy it is to be able to vent the anger in my heart tonight and clear away all the sadness that has plagued me for years. Sanai was intrigued by what he had heard, so he knelt down and said, "I see. What you have just said is not at all different from what I have always thought, that the path to wealth and honor is a noble and honorable thing. I have a question I would like to ask, even though it may be a silly one. Please explain it in detail." You have just clearly explained the reasoning behind the matter, saying that it is a great mistake for people to neglect the virtue of money and not realize that wealth and honor are great pursuits, but I also think that what those scholars say is not without reason. That is because 8 out of 10 of the wealthy people in today's world are greedy and cruel. For example, there are some who, while receiving a generous salary themselves, refuse to help their siblings, relatives, or those they have served for many years, even those who are poor and in need. Or when a close neighbor falls on hard times and no one tries to help them, they fall into poverty. In an act of guilt, they buy up the person's fields at a throwaway price and make them their own. On the other hand, there are some who, while now respected as the village chief, refuse to return things they borrowed from people long ago, and who, when a polite person offers to give up their seat, refuse to return them. They look down on that person as if he were a subordinate servant. I have seen many examples of dishonest people who, when an old friend happens to come to visit them for a seasonal visit, suspect that the friend has come to borrow money and tell them that the friend is not at home. On the other hand, there are those who are loyal to their lord, filial to their parents, and have a good reputation for being upright, who respect their superiors and help the poor, but who are always poor, who spend their lives in a single layer of clothing even in the cold winter, and in the heat of summer, who only wear a single robe and have no change of clothes, and who barely stave off hunger with a bowl of porridge in the morning and evening, and who are not of much use to others. Perhaps because they are not of much use to others, they do not receive a single visit from friends, and are instead barred from visiting by their siblings and relatives, and are refused social relations. They have no way to express their grief, and spend their lives in the rush to make a living. So does that mean that the person is not enthusiastic about the family business? No, they get up early in the morning, work late at night, and devote all their energy to their livelihood, running around everywhere, and they look like they have no free time. They are not stupid, but when they try to do something, they often end up wasting their time because they are unlucky. Such a person cannot reach the state of mind of one of Confucius' disciples, who embraced a gourd and enjoyed a simple life. And the fact that we end our lives in this way is explained in Buddhism as a karmic connection from a previous life, while Confucianism teaches that it is a destiny determined by heaven. If there is an afterlife as Buddhism teaches, then people will even go as far as to be angry about the misfortunes of this life, looking forward to the fact that their hidden virtues and good deeds in this life will be rewarded in the next life. So, is it true that only Buddhism has fully explained the principles of the path to wealth and honor, and that the teachings of Confucianism are incoherent nonsense? It seems that you too are a believer in the teachings of Buddha. If not, please tell me your thoughts in detail. The old man replied, "The matter you have just asked has in fact been debated for a long time, but no conclusion has yet been reached. According to the Buddhist teachings, wealth, poverty, and lowliness in this life depend on whether or not one created good deeds in a previous life, but this is a careless teaching. A person who in a previous life was modest in his conduct, controlled himself, and was full of compassion and was kind to others may be reborn into a wealthy family in this life as a result of his good deeds. Then, suddenly, he uses his wealth to become arrogant towards others. What kind of retribution could it be that people have fallen so far from their good hearts in a previous life, spouting ridiculous nonsense and displaying a shameless, violent, and barbaric heart? I have heard that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas detest things like honor and greed, so why are they so hung up on things like poverty and proselytizing about it? To arbitrarily decide that wealth and honor are the result of good deeds in a previous life, and that poverty and lowliness are the retribution for bad deeds, is nothing more than a way to deceive and fool ignorant women and children. It is a pseudo-Buddhism. If a person does not care about wealth or poverty, and simply accumulates good deeds wholeheartedly, even if the good deeds do not appear to themselves, their descendants will surely find happiness one day. For example, the ancient Chinese Holy Emperor Shun was a sage in virtue, the emperor of heaven in rank, and possessed all the wealth in the country. However, because of Shun's virtue, his ancestors were worshipped with the rites of the Emperor of Heaven, and his descendants were able to maintain their status, honor, wealth, and longevity. When the doctrine of the means says that the ancestral temple will receive it, and the descendants will maintain it, it is a subtle and specific explanation of the principle that good deeds will naturally be rewarded accordingly. Doing good deeds and expecting to be rewarded for it is by no means an honest heart. Also, I have a different view on the fact that greedy and stingy people who do evil deeds not only become rich and prosperous because of it, but also the fact that you will live a long life and spend your final days. Well, please listen for a moment. I have appeared before you in the form of a human being and am speaking to you, but I am neither a god nor a Buddha. I am originally an incarnation of gold, without any emotions, and so I have different thoughts from humans. As I said earlier, people who were rich and prosperous in the past took advantage of natural opportunities, carefully assessed the interests of the land, and engaged in industry that suited them, and as a result became wealthy. This was a plan that was in accordance with the laws of nature and reason, so it was natural that treasures should accumulate with such people. On the other hand, people who are lowly, stingy, greedy, and cruel will cherish gold and silver as if they were their father or mother, will barely eat, will barely wear clothes, will not even consider losing their irreplaceable, precious life for the sake of gold, and will never forget about gold, whether they are awake or asleep, so it is only natural and obvious that gold and silver should accumulate with them. Originally, I am neither a god nor a Buddha, but simply a heartless golden spirit. As a heartless being, there is no reason for me to investigate human good and evil and act according to the results. Praising the good and punishing the evil is what heaven, gods, and Buddhas do. These three things show the unchanging human way of life. It is beyond our reach. However, please understand that we will gather around a person according to the degree to which he treats us with care and serves us diligently, no matter who he is. In this respect, even if money has a spirit, it differs from the human heart. Also, no matter how wealthy and prosperous a person is and how good he does, if he bestows favors on others without a reason or lends money without discerning whether the other person is behaving unrighteously, his treasures will eventually scatter from him, no matter how good the deeds. This is because such people only know how to use money, do not know the virtue of money, and treat it lightly. Also, people who behave well and are sincere to others but are struggling to make ends meet are born with little blessing from the heavenly gods, and no matter how hard they work and try, they will not become rich or noble in their lifetime. That is why the wise men of the past sought wealth when it was worthwhile, and did not seek it when they found it not worthwhile. They escaped the mundane world, retreated to the mountains, and lived their lives in peace, following their own fancy. I envy their refreshing and clear minds. However, on the one hand, the path to wealth is an art, and skilled people are able to accumulate wealth, while immature fools lose it all more easily than a pile of tiles, no matter how much they have. Furthermore, our gold is something that gathers and disperses around people's occupations, and does not have a definite owner. Day and night, they come and go without rest. But if a man of leisure lives without a fixed occupation, he will soon devour a great deal of things, such as the Tizen large mountain. Even things that are rich, such as rivers and seas, will eventually be consumed. I repeat, a person of no virtue hoards wealth and treasures, and this has nothing to do with his virtue or non-virtue. The wealth and honor of a gentleman are separate issues and should not be discussed on the same level. If a person who is blessed with good fortune is frugal, avoids waste, and works hard at his occupation, his family will naturally become wealthy, and people will become attached to him and follow him. I do not know about the karma of past lives as taught in Buddhism, nor do I care about the divine will as taught by Confucians. I live freely in a completely different world. When Sanai heard this story, his interest grew even more and he said, "Your theory is extremely wonderful. Thanks to you, my doubts that I had for many years have been completely cleared up tonight. While I'm here, I'd like to ask you again. Looking at the world today, it seems as though the prestige of the Toyotomi clan is sweeping the nation, and peace is finally being felt throughout Japan, but there are also many samurai who are loyal to their lord who has lost his country, hiding here and there and waiting for an opportunity to do so. Some serve the lord of a great country for a time, waiting patiently for the world to be thrown into chaos, and then he is plotting to achieve his goal of restoring his lord's family to its former glory. On the other hand, the people were also born into a warring state, and so if the opportunity arose they would put down their hoes, take up a cause, and make a name for themselves, leaving their natural calling in the form of farming aside. This makes it difficult for even the samurai to sleep soundly. In this state of affairs, it seems unlikely that the Toyotomi clan's government will last long. Who will unify the country in the future and allow the people to live in peace and tranquility? And who will you be siding with?" The old man replied, "Politics is also a matter of the human world, so I do not understand it. However, if we discuss it from the perspective of wealth and honor, Takeda Shingen was a man of great wisdom and strategy, and always hit his targets, yet throughout his life he only exerted his influence in the 3 provinces of Kai, Shinano, and Etsu. And yet his reputation as a great general was universally praised. Towards the end of his life, Shingen is said to have said, 'Nobunaga is now a general blessed with great fortune. I had always underestimated him, and neglected to conquer him, and now I have fallen ill. After I am gone, my descendants will soon be destroyed by him.' Usuji Kenshin was a brave general. After Shingen's death, no worthy rival who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the world arose. However, unfortunately, he died young. Nobunaga's character and talent were outstanding, but he was not as wise as Shingen, and was inferior to Kenshin in bravery. Nevertheless, he acquired wealth and nobility, and once unified the country and came to command it. However, he brought shame to his retainers, and was betrayed by them and lost his life, so it seems that he was not a man of both letters and martial arts. Hideyoshi's ambition was great, but he was not one to conquer the world from the beginning. This can be seen from the fact that when he was young, he envied the wealth and nobility of Shibata Katsui and Niwa Nagahide, and wanted to emulate them, so he took the surname Hashiba. Now, he is excited as if he had transformed into a dragon and risen into the sky, and has become a high-ranking person and a minister, but perhaps he has forgotten his former status and circumstances. Even though Hideyoshi transformed into a dragon, he was not a real dragon, but merely a kind of dragon toad. It is said that the lifespan of a dragon that turns into a dragon is only 3 years. So Hideyoshi's descendants will probably not last long either. No world ruled by indulgence and luxury has ever lasted long. Frugality is something we should observe as human beings, but if it is taken too far, we fall into miserliness. So it is important to know the difference between frugality and miserliness and to act accordingly. Now, even if Toyotomi's government does not last long, it is in the near future that all the people of the country will prosper in peace and prosperity, and each family will enjoy prosperity and peace in the world. Who will unify the world at that time? According to your wish, I will answer this question and recited the following 8-character poem. The poem is Gumi I Haini Akirakani. Hayako se yeni yoru. In the reign of Emperor Yao, the auspicious grass called saya grew, the sun was high, shining a peaceful world, and all the people in the world lived peacefully in their homes. Sanai and the Golden Spirit exchanged many interesting stories, but when they finally came to an end, the bell of a distant temple rang at 4 o'clock in the morning, announcing that dawn was near. Hearing this, the Golden Spirit said, "Oh, dawn has dawned. I think I'll take my leave. I'm sorry for disturbing your sleep with my long talk tonight," and seemed to be about to leave, but suddenly his figure vanished from sight. Sanai thought deeply about the events of that night and considered the line the Golden Spirit had spoken, "After Yao and the sun, the peasants return home." It seemed to him that the line "returning the peasants home" implied the meaning of returning to Ayasu. He now understood the true meaning of what the spirit had said and began to believe it deeply. Truly, these were auspicious words that would come about in an auspicious time when auspicious grass would grow. They were a happy story.